flat. But the reason why I think houses are going to come back down is simply that these home builders are going to be lowering prices, and you're not going to necessarily see the lower prices because they're going to add incentives, they're going to throw in landscaping, they're going to subsidize financing. So the reality is if you and I want to sell our home, we're going to be competing against all these new homes which are going to be on the market with all these great packages, incentives, free yards, etc. And that simply means that those prices are going to come down. When you're at 10 times income, you simply have to have prices to go up. Otherwise, you're going to literally be shaken out of your house.
Tell me something, Mark. How does your personal view of housing compare to Pimco's? I mean, have your colleagues reacted to what you've done, gone and sold it, and now renting?
Well, I've had several comments that was a pretty bold move. So I would say that in general, my Pimco colleagues are probably not as bearish as I am. But, you know, I have done a lot of work on housing, looking at it over the past couple of months, and I do feel strongly that prices have reached a point with the current level of rates ratcheting up that we simply can't see the level of appreciation we've seen. And in fact, in these hot markets, I think prices are going to fall. What
about your wife and your friends? What have they said to you?
Well, you know, my wife was, that wasn't exactly an easy sell now, but I basically talked to her about the fact that I didn't think that was a great place for us to be putting our money going forward. And, you know, we have made quite a lot of money over the last 8 years in housing. I simply think it was prudent to take that money off the table, move into something more conservative. I think the economy is going to be more challenging going forward. And then ultimately, 2 or 3 years, we can move wherever she wants.
And a minute ago, you said you're going to be back in the market and maybe buy in 2 or 3 years. So you have a strategy here. You and your wife plan to be almost vulture buyers again in a year or two, right? Once the housing market falls a lot. Tell me how this timing works out.
Well, the fact is that we are at peak levels of sales right now. What's going to happen is more and more people will put their houses on the market and realize that that buyers essentially are turning into sellers, and this market's going to become much more liquid. So reality will set in, and as reality sets in, this will take a year or two to play out. Ultimately, the banks are going to pull back from this market. Financing is going to become much more difficult to get. And as we approach 2007, 2008, that will be a time when buyers can start to step in with cash and actually provide a liquidity bid. And so ultimately, I'm in cash now, and I'm going to hold this out for a year or two.
All right, Mark, let's stay in touch. We'd love to find out how your bet pays off. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
We appreciate it. Pimco's Mark Kiesel. Up next on the show, billionaire investor George Soros on the outlook for housing, the stock market, and who inspired him as a young man to change the world by taking risks in business and now in politics as he warns of the perils of the war on terror.
We are only concerned about our well-being.